All right, so get ready, because today we're diving deep into a book that really kind of, well, twists your thinking in some pretty unexpected ways.
Oh, sounds intriguing. Which book are we talking about?
It's The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer. And I'll be honest, this isn't your typical, self-help book. It's Singer's autobiography, but he kind of weaves in this radical idea throughout his personal story. It's like, what if instead of constantly fighting against life's currents, we just learn to surrender to them?
Surrender, huh? That's an interesting concept, especially in the context of a personal journey. It makes me think about how we often try to control every aspect of our lives. But what happens when we let go of that control? Is it even possible?
Well, that's the thing. Singer's life is anything but passive. I mean, the guy goes from being this reclusive yogi,
Yeah.
like searching for enlightenment, to becoming the CEO of a billion-dollar software company.
Wow, that's quite a leap from seeking inner peace to leading a massive corporation. So, how does he reconcile those two seemingly opposite worlds? Does he talk about that in the book?
Oh, it does. And that's where it gets really interesting. Because throughout all of this, Singer claims he wasn't the one like actively driving the bus. So we're immediately hit with this paradox, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like he's saying, hey, I built this incredibly successful life, but I wasn't really trying to. That definitely goes against our usual ideas about ambition and hard work. So, how does he explain that?
Well, to understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. Because Singer's surrender experiment didn't actually start with some dramatic life event. It was something much more, well, ordinary.
Really? So, what was it that set him off on this whole path?
He was just sitting on his couch one day, hanging out with a friend, and then suddenly, bam, he has this profound realization. It's almost like a mental shift.
Interesting. Can you elaborate on that a little more? What exactly was this realization?
He describes it as this sudden awareness that he's not actually his thoughts, but the observer of them. Like he's separate from his thoughts. It's a subtle but powerful distinction.
Ah, I see. So it's like becoming aware of the space between your thoughts and your true self, that awareness that's always present but often gets overshadowed by the constant chatter of the mind.
Exactly. And it's such a simple moment. But for Singer, it sets off this chain reaction that completely changes his life. It's like a fish suddenly realizing it's been swimming in water its whole life. Like you said, it just kind of hits him.
And that's what's so fascinating about mindfulness, right? It doesn't require some grand mystical experience. It can happen in the most mundane moments if we're paying attention.
Totally. But for most people, those moments come and go. But for Singer, it spurred him to make some pretty drastic changes.
Like what kind of changes did he make?
Well, for starters, he dropped out of his PhD program, and then he decided to leave pretty much all of his belongings behind and basically becomes this like wandering seeker.
Wow, talk about a life change. So where did he go? What was he seeking?
He ended up living in his VW van, just driving around and really diving deep into meditation. It's kind of hard to imagine, just walking away from everything familiar to pursue something so undefined.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a difficult choice for most people. It really challenges our attachment to comfort and security. But I guess that's the point, right? To step outside of our comfort zones and see what happens.
Exactly. And Singer's story really forces us to confront that. Like, what would it take for us to walk away from everything and chase something, well, something bigger than ourselves, something we can't even fully define?
It's a question worth asking ourselves, for sure. And it seems like this choice to retreat from the world is a common thread in many spiritual traditions, right? Monks, hermits, yogis, seeking enlightenment in solitude. It's like a universal urge to disconnect from the noise and connect with something deeper.
Right. But the interesting thing is, even when Singer tries to isolate himself, life has a way of, well, showing up. It's like he can't escape the unexpected, even when he's seeking solitude.
Ah, so the universe had other plans for him. What happened?
Well, he has this chance encounter with a young boy in Mexico who leads him to this perfect spot for meditation. And then he gets pulled back into the world of economics. He ends up tutoring a bank president who's struggling with the subject.
Interesting. It seems like these encounters, even though they were unplanned, were somehow pushing him in a certain direction, almost like they were meant to happen.
Yeah, and that's where the theme of surrender really starts to emerge. Because each of these situations, they kind of force Singer outside of his comfort zone. He's presented with these opportunities that he would normally resist.
So instead of sticking to his plan of solitary meditation, he starts saying yes to these unexpected opportunities.
Exactly. He even gets roped into riding a horse through the desert to escape some banditos. Talk about
Right.
an unplanned adventure, right?
Wow, that sounds intense. So it seems like he's slowly opening himself up to this different way of navigating life, one where he's not constantly trying to control the outcome.
Right. He's learning to trust the flow of life, even when it takes him in directions he couldn't have predicted.
And that's what surrender is all about, isn't it? It's not about passively accepting whatever happens, but about aligning ourselves with a larger flow, a force that might be guiding us towards something greater than we can imagine.
It's a powerful concept,
Yeah.
but it's also a challenging one to wrap our heads around. I mean, how do we actually surrender in our everyday lives?
That's the million-dollar question. And I think it's something we'll continue to explore as we dive deeper into Singer's journey.
Definitely. Because as we'll see, Singer's experiment in surrender takes him to some pretty incredible places.
I'm definitely intrigued. Let's keep going.
So it really makes you think about those times when you kind of felt like things were just sort of happening to you, right? Like, what if those were actually little nudges in the right direction, even if we couldn't quite see it at the time?
Right, exactly. Like maybe those moments where we felt like, why me? Were actually, part of some larger plan, even if it didn't make sense in the moment.
Yeah, and maybe Singer's suggesting that we can learn to kind of trust those nudges a little bit more. But, for him, one of those big pivotal moments comes when he stumbles into the world of software development.
Software development, really? That's an interesting turn. So was he already into computers or?
Not really. I mean, remember, this is like the early 80s, way before everyone had computers in their homes.
Oh, yeah, true. That was a different world. So how did he get involved with software?
Well, he just had this, intuition, this gut feeling that computers were going to revolutionize the medical industry.
Interesting. So it wasn't like he saw a business opportunity and jumped on it. It was more like he sensed a need, something that wasn't being met.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just some vague hunch either. I mean, he saw this really practical need. Doctors were drowning in paperwork, spending hours and hours on billing and administrative tasks.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. So he saw an opportunity to apply technology to solve a real problem, make things more efficient.
And that's exactly what he did. He created this software called the Medical Manager, and it was designed to streamline medical billing and practice management.
The medical manager. So basically, he took this super complex, time-consuming process and made it more user-friendly. I bet doctors were thrilled.
Oh, yeah. It was a game changer for sure. And it's so interesting because you can kind of see how all these different parts of his life, his analytical skills from economics, and then this deep understanding of human needs from his spiritual journey, they kind of all converged to create this really innovative solution.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like his spiritual practices weren't just about retreating from the world, but also about understanding it on a deeper level. And then he could apply that understanding to make a real difference.
And it's not like he was driven by this ambition for fame or fortune. He describes the development process as almost effortless. Like he was just channeling this creative energy.
That's fascinating. It challenges our usual notions about how we achieve success, doesn't it? Like maybe it's not always about pushing and striving, but about tapping into a larger flow and allowing ourselves to be guided by it.
Totally. But, most of us can't just sit back and wait for inspiration to strike. We have responsibilities, goals we're working towards. So how do we reconcile this idea of surrender with the need to actually take action in our lives?
Right, good question. It's a delicate balance for sure.
Yeah.
I think Singer is pointing to a more nuanced approach. Like it's not about being passive, but about shifting our perspective, being willing to let go of our rigid control and kind of trust that there is a larger intelligence at play.
Okay, so it's not about giving up our goals altogether, but more about how we approach them. Maybe being open to different paths and possibilities that we might not have considered before.
Exactly. Think of it like surfing. You can't force a wave to come, but you can prepare yourself, get yourself in the right spot, and then when the wave arrives, you ride it with skill and grace. It's a collaboration between your effort and the power of something much bigger than yourself.
I like that analogy. It really captures that sense of working with life's energy instead of constantly fighting against it. And it seems like for Singer, that collaboration extended to the people he brought into his life. He talks about this amazing team that he assembled, and it's like each person showed up at exactly the right moment.
Interesting. It sounds like the universe was conspiring to help him succeed, and it speaks to the importance of trusting others and allowing them to contribute their unique talents, doesn't it?
For sure. And that approach definitely led to success. I mean, the Medical Manager just exploded in popularity. It went from this small one-man operation to a multi-million-dollar company with thousands of employees.
Wow, so it's a classic example of how surrender can lead to expansion, both personally and professionally. By letting go of his need to control every little detail, Singer created the space for something much bigger to emerge.
Exactly. But as we know, the path to success is never a straight line. And for Summer, just when things were reaching new heights, there's this sudden dramatic shift.
Oh, what happened? Did the company hit a rough patch?
Well, it was even bigger than that. And we're talking about the dot-com bubble burst.
Mm.
It was a massive event that shook the whole tech industry. And Singer's company, which had merged with Healthion WebMD by this point, was right in the middle of it.
Oh, wow. So this was like an external force that no one could have really predicted or controlled, a real test of his surrender experiment.
For sure. And, things got pretty intense. The company's stock plummeted, layoffs were happening, and the future was completely uncertain.
So what did he do? How did he respond to this crisis?
Well, true to his whole philosophy, he didn't panic. He didn't try to, force his way out of the situation.
So he stayed true to his principles of surrender, even in the face of all this chaos.
Absolutely. He focused on what he could control, his own actions, his attitude, and his commitment to his employees.
That's a powerful lesson right there, isn't it? Like, even when the world feels like it's falling apart around us, we can still choose how we respond. We can choose to cultivate inner peace, even amidst the storm.
And for Singer, that inner peace allowed him to navigate this incredibly challenging period with this amazing sense of grace and resilience.
It's inspiring, for sure. But I have a feeling the challenges aren't over yet, are they? There's more to the story.
Okay, so we've got Singer. He's trying to lead this company through the dot-com crash, trying to keep things afloat amidst all this craziness. But then this huge bombshell just drops out of nowhere.
Oh, wow. What happened? Did something else go wrong with the company?
It's actually even more unexpected than that. It comes from this guy, Bobby Davids, the former CFO of personalized programming, one of the companies Singer acquired.
Yeah.
So, everyone's focused on this merger and the market crash, and it turns out Davids is, secretly cooking the books.
Wait, seriously? He was committing fraud?
Yeah. Apparently, he'd been siphoning off millions of dollars for himself this whole time. It's a total betrayal, especially for someone like Singer, who built his company on, integrity and ethical conduct.
Wow. I can't imagine what that must have been like for him. It's a huge violation of trust.
It's like this cosmic joke,
Yeah.
The guy who spent years seeking enlightenment in the woods is now facing accusations of financial fraud.
Yeah, that's pretty ironic. So what happened next? Did he try to fight back?
Well, he could have easily gotten caught up in all the drama, tried to shift the blame or desperately try to prove his innocence. But, true to his whole surrender experiment, that's not what he does.
So how did he handle it?
He actually steps down as CEO of WebMD so he can focus on clearing his name.
Mm-hmm.
But he stays on to lead the practice services division, the heart of what was once the medical manager. And he gets this top-notch legal team and basically surrenders the fight to them,
Yeah.
He trusts their expertise to navigate the legal system.
Wow. It's like he's taking his own teachings to the extreme. It would be so easy to get caught up in the anger and the need to control the situation, but he chooses to let go.
And get this, it's during this incredibly stressful time, with his reputation on the line and the possibility of going to prison, that he writes The Untethered Soul.
Wait, seriously. He wrote his best-selling book while he was under investigation for fraud?
Yep. And the book is all about finding inner peace and freedom from suffering. It's pretty incredible. Talk about walking the walk.
It's like this whole ordeal became this, ultimate test of his beliefs. And instead of falling apart, he channels his experience into this book that ends up helping millions of people.
It's really amazing. And eventually the truth comes out. After years of legal battles, Singer is completely exonerated. The judge actually even criticized the government for, overreaching and pursuing charges that were ultimately baseless.
So justice prevailed in the end.
It did. And it's a reminder that sometimes, things take time to unfold. And that holding on to our integrity, even when things are really tough, can ultimately lead to things working out in the end.
It's definitely a testament to the power of resilience, and it shows how surrender isn't about weakness, but about finding strength and letting go of what we can't control.
And his whole story, it just makes you think, what if we approached our own lives as a kind of experiment in surrender?
Yeah, what if we were more willing to loosen our grip on the reins a bit and trust in the flow of life, even when it takes us in directions we don't expect?
It's a powerful idea. And if you're looking for a guide for that journey, Michael A. Singer's The Surrender Experiment is definitely a good place to start.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even amidst chaos and uncertainty, we can choose to cultivate inner peace. And that's a message we can all benefit from.
For sure. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on Singer's journey. What resonated with you? Leave a comment below and share your insights. If you found this deep dive helpful, be sure to subscribe for more explorations of, well, fascinating topics and inspiring ideas. Until next time, keep diving deep.